Keith just asked me who won the Kentucky Derby. We're about to tell you in a minute, Keith. We'll show you the race in about 5 minutes' time.
Looking forward to that. I know who won the South Australian Derby, Bruce.
The Moose Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
Named after the Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon character.
Because he's got a head like a moose. Well, it was the moose that roared yesterday, wasn't he?
Pity Max is not on. We could make a joke about that, couldn't we? But we've got a good-looking fella at the other end of the satellite. Well, we better tell him that was an all-Victorian finish in the South Australian Derbies. We say good morning to Wayne Wilson. Hi, Wayne.
Hello, Keith. How are you?
Good to talk to you again, Wayne, with Queensland and South Australia taking prominence at the moment. What was the track in the end yesterday? I know Durbridge fronted up and ran in the Sir Bernhardt. Was it very badly rain-affected? Did it have a bias?
Well, the track was rated as slow, but it certainly looked as though it was playing for the leaders. Bruce, Waikika Mukau's run in the Guineas was good because he came from back, and he was one of the few to come from back in the field on the day. I felt that the way they were racing yesterday, the leaders were advantaged to some degree.
Well, tell us about the Sir Bernhardt. This is a race that Durbridge did fail in. Innocent King ran on to run fourth, and Let's Hurry won very, very handily, didn't she?
Yes, it was a nice win by Let's Hurry. She's a quality mare, and she goes towards the Stradbroke now with a chance, particularly if we got a little bit of rain. She's beautifully placed behind the leader as they straighten up. That's Durbridge second on the outside. Now, when Mick had hold of him, he was seemingly going okay, but as soon as he put him under pressure, he floundered. And look at Let's Hurry just cruise up on the outside of Durbridge, and she put a couple of lengths in him in a few strides. Now, Innocent King's performance was very good. Cassidy came back with glowing reports to the connections, and he's right on target for the Doomben Cup, his prime aim here in Brisbane during the winter. But Let's Hurry looked good at the end there, and if we happen to be on rain-affected going during the QTC Carnival for the Stradbroke, she's probably there with some chance. Durbridge, I think, just forget the run. I spoke to Michael Friedman this morning. He said he didn't handle the track, and he is still going for the Hollandale Cup and the Doomben Cup.
Yes, she's 6 now, Wayne. Let's Hurry. Other mares, or most of them, are doing other things, but she's won nearly $500,000 in stakes, and perhaps she will add to that too.
Well, she's a quality mare, Keith. She hasn't won a Group 1 races yet, and I bet connections are keen to get that Group 1 name beside her name before she goes to stud, and that's probably going to be at the end of the season.
You're talking about the Freedmans. They struck with Greg Hall in the Queensland Guineas. This horse seems to have grown a leg. So often they do in Queensland, Paris Lane, but he was very impressive yesterday. Had a good run. Waikika Mukau, nice run, and Arborea came from nowhere to finish fourth.
You can just see Waikika Mukau in the cerise colours towards the rear of the field now. He's starting to run on, but look at the acceleration that Paris Lane shows. Now, when he came here, he was generally regarded as a wet track duffer, but he's dumbfounded connections, really. He's handling the wet. And if that's the case, look out for him once he gets up on top of the ground. But a nice run there by Waikika Mukau, and Wayne Hawkes representing the Hawkes stable yesterday suggested they may head for the Doomben Cup with Waikika Mukau rather than go for the Grand Prix.
And Wayne, our fiction, surely that was a run of a filly who will take some tossing in the Queensland Oaks.
She does look as though she's finding a form again, Keith. Yes, I thought the performance was good yesterday, and McLaughlin is keen to head to the Oaks with her.
What do the Freedmans do with Pillar of Salt, who won on Monday? They've got Paris Lane and Pillar of Salt both firing.
Well, I think when Pillar of Salt came here, it was generally conceded that he was the better of the two youngsters, but Paris Lane has taken over that role as now. Pillar of Salt, I believe, will run next Saturday at Doomben. They elected to miss the Guineas with him yesterday, but his winning performance at Doomben last weekend was very, very good, so he's flying at the moment too.
And the final event of the program yesterday, a guide to the Cups, Brisbane maybe particularly, with Sub-Zero, Castletown and Cross Swords. Didn't fire a shot between them, and Pure Lust from the O'Sullivan stable, what a stable that is, had a good run all the way, didn't it, Wayne? And it had a battle with Brero in the straight.
Yes, there was an interesting battle of tactics as they straightened up with Shane Dye on Brero, trying to hold York in the pocket. You can see Brero's second on the outside. That's Mrs. Gallagher in front. And Pure Lust is over in the pocket on the inside. But York just eases back, comes around the heels of Brero. He said she was always travelling extremely well, Pure Lust, and he knew he could outsprint them in the run to the line. And that's exactly what she did. Now, Paul O'Sullivan told me she's probably just a touch off top class, Pure Lust, but she's blossomed here. She might go on and win a big race here. I wouldn't be too disappointed with Cross Swords or Sub-Zero, particularly Sub-Zero with his big weight and the way the track was playing yesterday. He couldn't come from back in the field and beat them, Bruce.
And interestingly too, the O'Sullivans have applied for 10 boxes at Randwick, and that request under AJC discussion at this moment, so they might be extending their team to Australia, Bruce.
Well, what a training team they've got, and what a great team they've got with the two trainers and the father-son and the jockey, with Lance, who's based in Hong Kong at the moment. A couple of key horses I want to ask you about. Brave Warrior, huge boom. Was he disappointing on Monday? Did the track beat him, Wayne?
Well, I wouldn't say the horse was disappointing. I'd say we were disappointed that he didn't win Brave Warrior. The track beat him. As soon as they hit the ground, he jumped on the wrong leg. Dittman had to put him under pressure. Running into the first turn, he was hard at him, and he was no chance from that stage on. In fact, I was quite surprised that he made up as much ground as he did in the straight, Bruce. I thought the run was okay, but he needs to be on top of the ground, Brave Warrior, and as soon as he strikes a firm track, you'll see the real Brave Warrior. Don't give up on him yet.
Bint Masqué, I see that she's been given special permission to trial. There is a rule in Queensland, if you've raced within 21 days, you can't have an official trial. She goes on Tuesday. What's the latest on her situation, and also who's going to ride her in the big race?
Well, the news has broken that Mick Dittman has elected to go with Cape Stad. He's been very loyal to the connections, and he has a great friendship with the connections of Cape Stad, so Mick is going to honour that loyalty and friendship, and he will ride Cape Stad. And Glenn Boss is the new rider for Bint Masqué, who's the ruling favourite for the 10,000 next week. As you mentioned, she will have a special trial at Eagle Farm on Tuesday. She'll line up against El Jarsi, Bella Snap, Dapple Up, and a horse called Suffolk, another one of the Freedman team, and it's expected, provided she draws well for the 10,000, that she's going to run a very short price favourite. If you can snap up the 3-1 now, I'd be doing that, Bruce, because I think she's got a great chance.
Gee, Mick, I know he's a great bloke, Mick Dittman, but you know, jockeys normally are ruthless, aren't they? They'll just ride the best mount. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. Remember Mick with Viander Cross and Co? He was jumping from one to the other. Naturalism, you know, just pick.
But the thing is, he's doing this out of loyalty to go with Cape Stad rather than Bint Masqué. I'm surprised about that. Well, she is going to run favourite. In Adelaide yesterday, the Bullwinkle winning the South Australian Derby, a race where there was a protest here, Keith, and the fifth against the winner, Centric, you'll see, gets absolutely flattened here in the straight in between Bullwinkle, who's taken the lead. Here's the interference. He got hit on the whip by the Battlehawk rider, and then bang, right out of the race, the protest was dismissed.
Yes, Bullwinkle, he's only been in racing. He's had his first start only 5 months ago, and yesterday he gave trainer Michael Kent, who's only 31, his first Group 1 success. Michael Kent surprisingly said that he may not back up Bullwinkle in the Adelaide Cup, because that was the path that last year's winner, the Derby winner, went on, our Pompey, to win the Cup. Yeah,
very impressive, and the Derby's been a pretty good race for the Adelaide Cup over the years. It's been a great guide. Centico did look a bit unlucky in the straight. But I think it's fair to say the South Australian Derby was really competitive yesterday, but slightly down on class. You wouldn't rate Bullwinkle amongst the absolute best, would you?
No, I think that's a fair comment. And Bart Cummings' bid to win his 29th Derby, My Tristelad, very disappointing.
And then Top Rating came out and won the lead up to the Adelaide Cup. He ducks in the straight. This is, again, a really competitive race. Bahai was making a strong run at them. Top Rating comes with a big run late. An Idea in the cerise colours just into the camera now. The John Hawkes train, who won the Easter Cup, does get chopped off on the line, but is beaten at the time.
Yes, an ambitious protest from the rider of Idea. But there's Top Rating, won the hometown hope, really, finishing well, and that was a pretty good Adelaide Cup trial, wasn't it?
It was. Wayne Lott talked about Queensland and South Australia clashing. What are the thoughts in Brisbane? Will they change the dates at all?
Yes, well, I'm terribly disappointed. I think the class of the racing in South Australia is down a touch, and we suffer here too. I don't think our fillies are well catered for in Queensland, with them having the two group races in Adelaide, the two Oaks over there, so we suffer a little bit here. And it seems unfortunate that two of the great sprint races in this country, the Doomben 10,000 and the Goodwood, go head-to-head next Saturday. I think they've got to get together in some fashion to try and sort out their dates and try and dodge the carnivals.
Well, I think Adelaide is locked away. It's about the only, I said this last week, the only go they get, so maybe it might be from your end, Wayne. Wayne, don't go away, or Keith, because we're about to have a look at the Kentucky Derby. It's run on what you might call a rain-affected track. Here we go. And Go for Gin wins the race. It's leading at the moment. Brocco's making a run at them. Brocco was the 4-1 second favourite. Keith, the one you wanted to back, Holy Bull, the 2-1 favourite. It's way out the back in about second last placing. They were going to call it Max Presnell, but they changed their mind.
And you told me it was a rain-affected track. You should have told me it was a quagmire. Have a look at that. The 120th running of the Kentucky Derby. I doubt whether few of the runnings have been on wetter surfaces.
And the result there, Go for Gin winning at, I'm just looking at this, at 9-1. Strode's Creek was second at 7-1. And Bloomin' Affair, he'd probably be good Quinella with Pine Lust. Well, Pure Lust when it was at 14-1.
Chris McCarron rode the winner, Bruce.
He did, and he's won too. Keith?
Good. Well, it's the only chance of the year I get to say hi, Mum, on telly, so I'm going to do that right now.
You've got a good one too, Keith. I've met her. All the best. And Wayne, thanks for joining us.
Okay,
and
Bruce.
We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, thank you very much, Bruce.
Wayne Wilson with Keith Hillier. A break, we talk about Ayrton Senna, the crash and the ramifications after this.